Bristol Community College, Mathematics with Dan Avedikian, Math 011, Arithmetic, Section 4.8, Problem 8. This is Section 4.8, Problem 8. It says, Anne stopped for lunch at Portas de Ciudad. Her meal and drink came to $16.25. She would like to leave a tip of at least 20%. If she leaves a $20 bill on the table, did she leave a sufficient tip? So is that at least 20%? So, first let's find out what a 20% tip would be, and then see if the difference between the 20 and the cost of the meal exceeds that amount. So again, the way I like to approach most percent problems is try to rewrite the important parts into the sentence, A is P% of B. And if I can, then I use the formula A over B equals P over 100. So A is the tip I'm looking for, is 20% of the cost of the meal, 16.25. So I have rewritten it. I can use my formula. So plug it in. A is the unknown. We'll say as A. B is, gives me the equals. P is 20. The percent is where the 100 comes from. And 16.25. So now I can reduce the 20 over 100 pretty nicely, so I might as well. A over 16.25 equals, it reduces to 1/5. Because 20 divides into 20 once, and 20 divides into 100 5 times. If you don't reduce it, you'll get the same answer. The smaller numbers are a little bit easier to deal with. So at this point, I will cross multiply. A times 5 is 5A. And multiplying the other way, 1 times 16.25 is 16.25. Times 1 is very easy multiplication. So to finish it to the end, what I have to do is divide away the 5. I have 16.25 over 5. Now, if you can use a calculator for your math class, you want to just enter the numerator, 16.25, divide by the denominator equals, and you'll get the answer real quick. If you can't use a calculator for math class, just off to one side, divide it out the long way. 16.25 divided by 5. Take your decimal, bring it straight up vertically into the numerator. 5 divides into 1. It won't go. 1's not big enough. So 5 goes into 16 3 times. 3 times 5 is 15. 16 minus 15 is 1. Bring down the next digit next to the 1. I have a 2, so 1 with 2 next to it is 12. 5 divides into 12 twice. 2 times 5 is 10. 12 minus 10 is 2. The next digit comes down next to it, so the 5 comes down next to the 2, giving you a 25. 5 divides into 25 exactly 5 times. 5 times 5 is 25. You get a remainder of 0. So great. So if you leave a tip of $3.25, that's a 20% tip. Now the question is, if the bill came to $16.25 and you leave a 20, did you give at least $3.25? And it turns out that you did. So if you do 20 minus the cost of the meal, 16.25, and notice if you want to do this without a calculator, you have to line up the decimals. So if you're good at making change, you'll be able to do it right away. It's $3.75. But if you can't make change, you have to borrow from the 2, make it a 1, make that a 10, make that a 9, make this a 10, 9, 10, like that. And so you get 10 minus 5 is 5, 9 minus 2 is 7, 9 minus 6 is 3, 1 minus 1 is nothing. So you still get it. So what it turns out is Anne left a tip of $3.75, and she wanted to leave at least $3.25, so she did $3.25 and a little more, an extra 50 cents. So it is a little more than 20%, which is good. Now again, my trick for calculating tips, the price was $16.25. So if you want to know 10% of it, just pull the decimal back 1 spot. It would be 1.625. So you can even make it 1.63 just for a good estimate. That's 10%, double it, because you want 20. So 2 of those would be $3.26. using my round off, which is about what it comes to. So if you're at a restaurant, you know you want to leave 20%, 326 is pretty close without, doing all this work. Same answer. So anyway, the answer is yes, Ann left a sufficient tip.